Part 69. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 681. Chapter 681 Begging for Money. You want so much? Lu Huilai was shocked. She originally thought she would invest 10,000 or 8,000, but it was probably about the same. She didn't expect so much money to be needed. Although Fan Jiangguo has made a lot of money in the past 2 years, if he uses such a large amount of money, he may be discovered by Fan Jiangguo. I couldn't help but retreat. Fang Zihui smiled and said, "Auntie, we are our own people, so I'm telling you what's on my mind. Why didn't I tell you to invest together? It's just that the capital is too much. I'm still thinking about recovering the cost this month. Prepare to invest 100,000 this time. You can get back 130,000 yuan in 3 months. After a year, basically all the money invested will come back, and you can still earn more than 100,000 yuan. This means they have been friends with me for many years, otherwise they wouldn't be able to help me. Whoever is doing business is willing to help others make money. If we weren't relatives, I wouldn't be able to tell you this." Fang Zihui said it seriously. As soon as Lu Huilai heard this, her heart immediately felt itchy. With 100,000 yuan, you can earn 30,000 yuan in 3 months, which is 120,000 yuan a year. If you invest in it yourself, this would be great. After paying back the cost in 1 year, you can still have 120,000 yuan in your hand. If I had more than 100,000 yuan, would my parents still need to ask Fan Jiangguo for money? Whoever has money is worse than having money in his own hands. But if he wants to use such a large amount of money in his passbook, it will be easily discovered by Fan Jiangguo. Fang Zihui took strong medicine. You'd better forget about this matter. You see, your belly is big and you are about to give birth to a baby. It's better not to get involved in this kind of thing. Besides, my friend will leave in 2 days, and I have prepared money for him in the past 2 days. Preparing to send it to him tomorrow, and then he left. After all, he has to travel back and forth to go abroad, and he is very busy flying. You can't run around just because of something like this. My money is nothing to him. People spend tens of millions to do business, how can they afford my little money? It's not just for the sake of being a long-time friend. Take a sip of coffee as if you don't care. The pain is excruciating." Lu Huilai gritted her teeth and said, "No, Zihui, you can't just keep silent and make a fortune. If you have such a good thing, of course you have to think about your aunt. Otherwise, how about this? When I get back soon, I will find a way to get my bank book. We both withdraw money, and you send the money to others. This matter must be hidden from your uncle." Fang Zihui was very happy. Of course she had to hide it from Fan Jiangguo. Fan Jiangguo wanted to know how this matter could still be accomplished. Playing right into your own heart. But it was still difficult to pretend to be serious. It's not appropriate for my aunt to hide such a big thing from my uncle. If my uncle knew about it, he would think that I defrauded you of money. It's better for the two of us to discuss this matter. Besides, for such a big thing, there are always risks in doing business. You have a store at home, so you should know better. Even if the goods are purchased, if they cannot be sold, they will still be lost. Who dares to give a 100% guarantee? If something happens, you think my uncle will hate me to death. Fang Zihui refuses to agree to it. Lu Huilai is anxious. If you told Fan Jiangguo about this, how could Fan Jiangguo agree? Fan Jiangguo is a very conservative person. Even though he has been in business for so many years, he will definitely not be willing to do such a risky business. Plus, whenever something happens, he will ask his niece Zhang Xiaoxiao. I'm afraid that if I ask, the final result will be no. Besides, after asking Fan Jiangguo, how can I earn some private money? Why are you so stubborn, kid? My aunt knows that there is number 100% guarantee in business, so she won't blame you even if she loses money, but I really can't tell your uncle about this. Auntie just wants to make some money for her own money, so at least it would be easy to subsidize her parents' family, right? Don't worry, Aunt will do it just this once, and she won't do it after that. Can you just act as a helper to Aunt? Lu Huilai begged Fang Xiaowai, but she couldn't understand what Fang Xiaowai said. If Fang Xiaowai dared to invest 100,000 yuan if there were risks, she was not fooling people. It's just that Fang Xiaowai doesn't want to help her and wants to eat alone. Lu Huilai is now filled with the promise of earning hundreds of thousands a year. With people's greed, all risks are simply invisible. Fang Xiaowai pondered in embarrassment, and, we are relatives. If you hide such a big thing from your uncle, if there is any harm, then I am not a human being inside and out. Otherwise, I really don't want to help you with this matter. It's not about money. You see, you are pregnant and the baby is about to be born. Why do you have to earn this money just because of this thing? My uncle earns a lot of money. Please talk to your uncle, this is nothing. Lu Huilai sighed, Xiaowai, you may not know about my aunt. I have a lot of younger brothers and sisters in my family. When I marry your uncle, I can't keep asking your uncle for money to support my parents' family. As time goes by, your uncle won't be able to help me either. I'm happy, but my parents' family are all my relatives, and my younger brothers and sisters are also my relatives. Now that I'm married, my parents and I have no one to support me, and life at home is difficult. Otherwise, if your aunt is pregnant, she won't be able to beg you. Not every family has a difficult time to recite. If you see your aunt having a pregnant belly, she will soon give birth to a little nephew for your sake. Just help your aunt, okay? I really don't want your uncle to know about this. Don't worry, I've earned tens of thousands of dollars, and I have enough money to support my parents' family, so I'll definitely stop. Lu Huilai thinks Fang Xiaowai doesn't want to take her into business together. Seeing people spend money like water, I feel moved in my heart. He began to act emotionally and rationally, and even moved the child out of his belly. Fang Xiaowai smiled and said, "Oh, aunt, don't say that. It's nothing to ask for. We are all relatives. After all, I am also my mother's biological child. My mother and uncle are biological children, not brought here. Since you said so, okay, then I will help you once, but we agreed, just this once." Lu Huilai nodded hurriedly in agreement. Hurrying to finish the coffee in front of him, he took Fang Xiaowai back home directly. The two of them went home. The old lady went to the neighbor's house to make shoes together in the afternoon. She was not at home. At noon, the old lady waited for a long time, but her daughter-in-law didn't come back. She made a pot of ribs, but her daughter-in-law didn't come back, and she didn't want to eat it. She left it for her daughter-in-law to eat in the evening. Her son had already bought the fruit that her daughter-in-law asked for. Hurriedly went to the store to help. The daughter-in-law is resting at home with a heavy belly. The son cannot rest at home too, otherwise the shop will be busy. I thought my daughter-in-law was not at home and was going to the store to help. Lu Huilai took out her bank book from home. The bank books at home are all in her hands, although she cannot touch the money at home casually. However, after he got married, Fan Jiangguo gave his bank books and other things to his daughter-in-law for safekeeping. No matter what, this is the daughter-in-law he married home. Of course this was convenient for Lu Huilai and Fang Xiaowai. They hurriedly went out and took 60,000 yuan for Fang Xiaowai. There is actually 100,000 yuan in the passbook, but Lu Huilai is also worried that if all 100,000 yuan is really spent, her husband will not get angry when he sees the money in the passbook. So I was extra cautious and only took 60,000 yuan. Fang Xiaowai saw the 100,000 yuan and wanted to give her some more advice, but when she saw Lu Huilai's look, she stopped thinking. The more you save yourself, the more you talk, and the more you leak the truth, it will appear that you are interested in other people's money. When the time comes, it is not a business deal, and it will be difficult to get this money. There is still a chance anyway. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 682. Chapter 682 Moving. Fang Xiaohui returned home with 60,000 yuan in her purse. There is no one at home today, Fang Xiaohui has the day off. Since I moved to the house opposite MRS Song, my life has been much cleaner. Mainly because my mother-in-law and father-in-law are not around, and I have saved a lot of trouble. Otherwise, it would be like your mother-in-law taking care of your mother, and you don't know how many things you have to do every day. Song Mohuan didn't get off work at the moment, and he didn't pick up the child. Fang Xiaohui was alone at home, thinking about what to do about this matter. Brother Yang must solve this problem. If it is not solved, something big may happen later. This man has tasted the sweetness in himself now, and I am afraid that Brother Yang will never give up in the future. Moreover, Brother Yang insulted her, and Fang Xiaohui would never let this man go. Fang Xiaohui has already planned to give 5,000 yuan to Brother Yang, and she plans to give the remaining 45,000 to Brother Yang. Why did you send this money over honestly? Of course it is to paralyze this Yang brother. She still hasn't figured out why her bad luck charm didn't work on Brother Yang, but this man must die. Now that it's like this, she must first get her photos and negatives back from Brother Yang. As long as these things are completely destroyed, then she can do other things with confidence and boldness. The remaining 15,000 yuan just makes up for my own small treasury. The last 3,000 yuan has been almost spent. She was not prepared to return the money to Lu Huilai. Who makes this woman stupid? I just wanted to make money wholeheartedly, and I didn't even think about asking myself to write an IOU just now. This money was given to her for free with no evidence. Even if she came to visit her in the future, she would not worry. Taking this opportunity, Fang Xiaohui thought of finding a way to make some other money. She rummaged through her mall and finally found 2 talismans that she liked. A talisman for your wishes to come true and a talisman for telling the truth. These 2 talismans really cost points, costing me a full 2,000 points. I have been a little unlucky recently. I did not get back any points from the unlucky talisman I redeemed. Since the last time I gained income from the 5 unlucky talismans, I have had no income. It is really strange. The last time I threw the unlucky talisman at the school gate, I only received a few points and 3,000 yuan. There is no news. I don't know what's going on. Fang Xiaohui thought about it for a while and changed a few more bad luck charms. I still have to increase my points, otherwise if something happens, I won't have a backup plan. The unlucky value is her escape route. Without the unlucky value, her life will be threatened. Fang Xiaohui doesn't want to die. So more unlucky values are needed. Fang Xiaohui put the bad luck charm in her pocket and started to go out. While she was resting, she had to go out and walk around to scatter all the charms. Then as soon as I went out, I saw MRS Song and Mr. Song moving. Right? As people came in and out of the opposite door, many people were helping to carry things. Fang Xiaohui was stunned. Where are the old lady and the others moving to? Hurry and follow those people to inquire. Comrade, is this moving? Mr. Song is preparing to move. He informed us yesterday that we have almost moved in today, and this is the last trip. Fang Xiaohui didn't see MRS Song and Mr. Song, and she was a little bit confused as to why the 2 old people were moving now. Having lived here for so many years, why do you want to move again? Is it possible to move back to the old house? He couldn't help curling his lips, it was just that he didn't like her and Song Mohuan. Once a person's heart is biased, he will never like something he doesn't like. Fang Xiaowai knew that the effect of the talisman on the old lady's body had disappeared. The old lady immediately returned to her original state and began to like Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding very much again. Although she and Song Mohuan were not kicked out for the sake of face, the old lady no longer helped them take care of the children, nor did they allow them to visit across the street. You can know what the old lady was thinking. Without seeing the old lady and the old man, Fang Xiaowai threw a bad luck charm directly on the car. She could only feel happy when she saw them being unlucky. Fang Xiaowai went directly to Mother Song. It is impossible for everyone in the Song family to know that such a big thing happened. As soon as he returned home, he saw Song's father and Song's mother worrying at home. Song's mother looked unhappy when she saw Fang Xiaowai. "Why are you coming back alone? Where is Mo Huan? You're not going to pick up the child either." Of course Fang Xiaowai knew that when her mother-in-law saw her, she wished she could pick out the bones from the eggs. Mo Huan worked overtime today, so he didn't come back. The child is still in the nursery. I have a day off today, so I came here to see if there is anything you need help with. By the way, parents, I saw the old man today. The old lady moved. But the old man and the old lady didn't see anyone, and they don't know where they moved to. Fang Xiaowai took advantage of the time to change her shoes and dug out a talisman in her mall that was only valid for 3 days. Thrown it directly on Mother Song. Song's mother was also stunned when she heard this. "Old Song, when did my parents say they were going to move? Did they tell you? You didn't tell me such a big thing. Are your parents going to move back to their old house? What will happen to my parents' house?" Song King he didn't know about this either. He was recently stuck because of his promotion to the dean, and he was upset. "I don't know. My parents haven't told me about such a big thing. I'll call my eldest brother and ask him if he knows." After a phone call, I found out that no one in the family knew about the old man and his wife's move. It's true that your parents didn't even tell their children about such a big thing. What if something happened? Besides, we don't know where we moved. You'd better call the security company. Well, ask where the old man has moved. It's not like we, as children, don't know anything. Song's mother looked unhappy. Although her father-in-law and mother-in-law didn't like them, they didn't even know where they lived. When the time comes, if outsiders ask about you, you will be the one who has no shame. After all, every time when showing off to outsiders, they say how nice their parents-in-law are to them, but they can't be so nice that they don't even know where they live. After several phone calls, the security guard finally told them that the old man and the old lady had bought another house, a courtyard house. Having found someone to clean it up, the old man and the old lady moved directly there. Mother Song was so angry that she stared blankly. The old man and the old lady had a lot of property. The old man has made outstanding achievements in these years and has been well treated by the country. Under the protection of the old man, the old lady has left a lot of good things in her hands. So the old lady is really not short of money. The problem is that you can't spend so much even if you don't have enough money. If you want to buy a house, just buy a house instead of a courtyard house. The courtyard house is shabby, so what's so good about it? But the old lady didn't know how to spend her money. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 683. Chapter 683, Bad Words. Okay. The old lady is moving today. You hurry up and get dressed. Let's go over and take a look. We can't let the old lady move. None of us children will show up, so that the moving guards and comrades will see it and think that how unfilial we children are. Mother Song naturally had her own thoughts when she said this. She felt that since the old lady had moved out of that house, the house would remain empty, so she might as well let the second child discuss it with the old lady. He gave them the apartment to live in. He had already taken a liking to the old lady's apartment. The house was very spacious, with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, and it was very clean and tidy. The most important thing is that he lives across the door from his son. Although she doesn't like her granddaughter very much, the problem is that it is a comfortable thing to see her son and granddaughter every day. It's better than just the 2 of them in the house now. Song King he was also preparing to go to the old man, because he wanted to discuss the matter of being promoted to the dean, and asked the old lady to come forward and make a phone call. Given his age, this may be his last hope for promotion in this life. If he can't be promoted this time, he will face retirement. Who doesn't want to fight at the end? Fang Xiaowai curled her lips secretly, her own words and tricks were blinded. If you had known that your mother-in-law would be there without you having to speak, why waste this talisman? The father-in-law and mother-in-law all went to see the old lady. The old man, her granddaughter-in-law, naturally couldn't be left behind. So the family of 3 took a car and went straight to the courtyard. Although it was their first time there, luckily they asked for the address and the driver inquired for a long time, and finally they arrived at the place. It's easy to recognize the place as soon as you arrive, after all, there is only one family moving. As soon as they saw this courtyard house, the 3 of them felt sour. They originally thought it was a small courtyard house with about 7 or 8 rooms in it, plus a courtyard and a patio, and it wouldn't be much better. The common courtyard houses all look dilapidated, and although some courtyard houses are large, there are dozens of people living in one courtyard, and the neighbors are all living together. There are so many people talking, which makes people upset. This courtyard in front of me is different. It should be said that the surrounding courtyards are all different. To be precise, this courtyard house and the other 3 surrounding courtyard houses form a larger courtyard house. Each courtyard house is a courtyard with 2 entrances. The 4 courtyards are combined to form a larger courtyard. Song's father and Song's mother felt a little sad when they saw such a big house. Although it was impossible for the old man to buy all 4 courtyards, this 2-entry courtyard was quite impressive. There are more than a dozen houses in the 2 courtyards. Once you walk in, you will feel friendly and peaceful, with a strong atmosphere of life. The courtyard is wide and well-sized. There are flowers and stones in the courtyard. Begonia trees are also planted, pomegranate bonsais are arranged, and goldfish are raised in large tanks, which means good luck. It is a very ideal outdoor living space, just like a large open-air living room, bringing the world closer to the heart. They felt relaxed and happy when they walked in. Mrs. Song has just directed her young comrades to arrange all the furniture in the house. In fact, this is the last batch of things, and the aunt at home is busy with it. Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi also came to help. Their house is almost ready and they are ready to move in a few days. But as soon as they heard that the old man and the old lady were planning to move here first, they came over to help. The 2 hit each other at once. Song's mother became very angry when she saw Fan Qiuying. Zhang Xiaoxiao is used to pleasing the old man and the old lady, but it turns out that Zhang Xiaoxiao's parents are even more troublesome. Look, they are all intruding into the house. Their children are not there to fulfill their filial piety. As a result, outsiders are running in front of the old man and the old lady. Performance. Hey, my little parents are here too. Old Mrs. Song and Mr. Song discovered that there were 3 more uninvited guests. Why are you here? The old man and the old lady are people who never want to trouble others. Even if they are moving, they are not prepared to let their children come. After all, they have people on hand. As long as they make a call, many people from the security company will come to help with the move. It's not too troublesome. There are aunts at home who help clean up, and Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi help them for several days. They even helped clean up the house. The old man and the old lady were thinking of living together in the future anyway, and Fan Xiuying and the others also had to tidy up their own courtyard house. Since one family is cleaning up, the other two are also cleaning up, so we might as well just clean up together. I didn't pay much attention to these things. I originally planned to notify my sons to come over for a get-together after moving here, which would also be considered as a formal notification to them that the two elders would retire here in the future. Unexpectedly, the second child and the second daughter-in-law got the news first. When she saw Fang Xiaowai following them, the old lady understood that it must have been Fang Xiaowai who told them. How could Fang Xiaowai and the others who live across the street not know about such a big move? My parents didn't say anything to us about such a big thing like moving, at least they asked us to come and help. How can we bother outsiders? You're not slapping us sons, daughters-in-law, etc. in the face. Mother Song is a little aggrieved. Why can't the old man and the old lady think about them? They are such grown-up people. What the old man and the old lady do will make outsiders think of their sons and grandsons. Mr. Song was impatient. It was just a small matter, something that could be easily solved, but when it came to his daughter-in-law, it was put on the line. Why do we have to listen to you about how we want to move? For your sake, we have to humiliate ourselves. If you were really filial to us old people, you should have known what we were going to do. It usually only happens once a month. Is there anything that we must tell you about? What outsider? Xiao Fan and Xiao Zhang are little parents. That is our in-laws. How can we become an outsider when we talk to you? The two of them helped clean up this house inside and out. I didn't leave you here alone, but it became a problem. You are the only one with a lot to do. Now that you're here, help me and get to work quickly. With the old man's words, Father Song, Mother Song, and Fang Xiaowai could only help them quickly. The old man smiled and told Fan Xiuying Zhang honestly, don't they dislike you for being an outsider? Let's go. You, an outsider, are guests. Let's sit down and drink tea when we enter the house, and let them do the rest. Fan Xiuying and Zhang Lishi couldn't help any more at this time. They meant well at first, but when people said this, it seemed like they were robbing other people's children of work. The two of them had no choice but to stop talking and follow the old man and the old lady into the house to drink tea. The three of them, Father Song and Mother Song, Fang Xiaowai, were so busy that their backs ached. Although they were not needed for moving furniture or anything, the problem was that they had to do small and detailed work, and they couldn't just stand there and watch. This busy work continued until the afternoon. Instead, Fan Xiuying and the others were there drinking tea and eating, very leisurely. Fang Xiaowai stared. She is a mother-in-law who has little success but more than failure. Just come and show your face and show your merits. You have to talk about gossip. It's okay this time. Even though you have said the words, the old man asked you to perform, but you are not tired enough. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 684. Chapter 684 The Song Family Hospital. A few days later, the old man notified the children at home to come for dinner. After all, he had to let the children know that he had moved to a new home. The old man and the old lady are very satisfied with the current home. There are nearly 20 houses in total. This is a courtyard with 2 entrances. The main room in the front yard is used as a living room to entertain guests, and the adjacent wing is used as a study room for the old man. The old man usually practices calligraphy and painting, but this time he has room for it. The soldiers of the guard squad live in the front yard near the gate. Who let there be a special concierge there? Auntie lives with the old man and the others in the backyard. Of course, in addition to the old man and the old lady living in the backyard, there are also several houses specially set aside for Zhang Xiaoxiao, Song Moding, and Tang Yuan'er to live in. There are also houses set up as guest rooms for several sons and daughters-in-law. House to live in. After all, during the New Year and festivals, the children and the whole family have to come back. There was no room for anyone to live in the house before, but this time there is no problem for anyone to come to the house. The three brothers all knew that the old man had moved, so he would bring his children to the house in a lively manner. When the three of them saw the old man's courtyard, they all envied this kind of person and lived in this kind of courtyard. It's really comfortable. The old man's yard is obviously well maintained. Especially, there are 3 jujube trees and 3 pomegranate trees planted in the yard. The flowers and plants that the old lady originally put on the drying table now all have space. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding came in with Tang Yuan'er and hurriedly greeted everyone. Zhang Xiaoxiao had a big belly and was about to give birth. As soon as Mrs. Song saw Zhang Xiaoxiao's belly, she hurriedly asked her to sit down. Since you're here, don't run back and forth. You'll live here from today on. If you give birth, your grandparents will have someone to take care of you at home. How can you do it alone there? It's not that Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi didn't care about Zhang Xiaoxiao, but Zhang Xiaoxiao liked to have her own independent space and privacy, so she and Song Moding lived in the separate courtyard that Fan Qiuying bought for them. On weekdays, Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi ran there from time to time. The problem was that no matter how diligently they ran, it was not as good as having someone around them. The old lady is most worried about Zhang Xiaoxiao. If she suddenly gives birth, there will be no one around and it will be inconvenient to even go to the hospital. The important thing is that Zhang Xiaoxiao's side is relatively far from the hospital, unlike their Saihewan side, which is so close to Zhang Xiaoxiao's hospital. Especially Zhang Xiaoxiao Hospital is the most famous for its obstetrics and gynecology department. It is so convenient to go there to give birth. You can reach it by just lifting your feet. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and said, "It's not inconvenient for me, Grandma. Many people have to work until they have children. I'm in good health and there's nothing wrong with me. Look, I'm healthy and lively." Zhang Xiaoxiao was afraid that the old man and the old lady would be busy for him. The old man and the old lady are both very old, and the move this time has made the 2 old people very tired. Although the old man and the old lady didn't do much work, the problem is that they are very tired just like this, let alone keeping them busy with work. Living by yourself, you need someone to take care of your food, clothing, housing, and transportation. It's not the old man and the old lady who are tired. Just as the old lady was about to say something, Song Qinghe came in with his daughter in his arms. "Mom, my daughter peed her pants. You have some pants for her to change into." As a grandfather, it was his first time to take care of a child, so he was really in a hurry. Nanny cried so sadly for a 3-year-old child. "Sometimes I still wet my pants, which hurts my self-esteem." Tang Yuan is now completely able to control himself. Of course, that is also because there is brother Baizai beside him. In order to show that he has become a little man, Tang Yuan has long stopped wetting the bed and his pants. Old Mrs. Song held her child in her arms and looked for clothes. "Let's go, there should be Tang Yuan pants in that room, so let's just wear my brother's pants for now." Who made Tang Yuan a few days older than my daughter? Even though he was a few days older, he was still an older brother. Song Qinghe sat down and looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao. He and his 2 daughters-in-law had nothing to say, but suddenly something came to mind. "Xiaoxiao heard that your hospital is doing very well now. I have an old superior. His daughter is more than 3 months pregnant. She wants to go to your hospital for a prenatal checkup, but she can't get in the queue. Please take a look and arrange it. This is an order." Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't want to refute Song Qinghe's face. The problem is that their hospital's business is too booming now, because the hospital's obstetrics and gynecology department and obstetricians are all well-known experts, and many people come here because of their reputation. No matter how expensive their hospital is, I am still willing to stay there. The problem is that overcrowding is not a good thing. The hospital is only so big, and Zhang Xiaoxiao can't create a ward. Now if you want to enter their hospital to give birth, you have to ask someone to find connections, or even queue up for a lottery. Just like that, I still can't get in line. Song Qinghe immediately asked her to arrange for the person to be admitted to the hospital. Either she couldn't arrange it, or she felt that Song Qinghe's father-in-law's ordering attitude was a bit unpleasant. Dad, I'll call Dean Wu later to see if I can get in line. This hospital is nominally the director of the hospital. Mrs. Wu is the director. This is also a disguised warning to Song Qinghe that Zhang Xiaoxiao does not have the final say in this hospital alone. Song's mother walked in and happened to hear these words, but she didn't take it seriously. Why are you still calling, Xiaoxiao? The hospital is not the Song family's hospital. This hospital originally belongs to our Song family. It's just a matter of asking you to say a word. Your father, an old superior, does not appreciate your father's promotion this time. Jobs are of great help. We are all a family, and you can't just sit back and watch your own resources. Song's mother just felt that this daughter-in-law didn't like her. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding took away so much of their son's love. If it weren't for the support of the old lady and the old man, would Zhang Xiaoxiao be able to open such a big hospital smoothly? I didn't look at how well equipped the hospital was, how luxuriously decorated the hospital was, and how well-known doctors were hired. What does this mean? The old lady and the old man gave a lot of money behind her back. Can the equipment alone be purchased by ordinary people? Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding are still students, how can they earn so much money? A hospital can also be opened. Song's mother felt that since the old man and the old lady paid for it, this hospital should be the Song family's hospital. You can't just let Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding take advantage. The Song family will not get any benefits. No matter what, they are still members of the Song family, so of course everyone should enjoy the blessing together. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and said, Auntie, this hospital has nothing to do with the Song family. All hospitals must follow the rules. The hospital has its own rules and regulations. Of course, it can accept patients who can receive it. There is nothing you can do about those who cannot. Since she wants to go to this hospital for a prenatal checkup, she should queue up honestly. I can say a word for her, but it doesn't mean that I can dominate the doctor's decision. When will your hospital become the Song family's? End of this chapter. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 685. Chapter 685 from the Song family. Xiaoxiao, what are you talking about? Why does it have nothing to do with the Song family? Song's mother was not satisfied. Having taken advantage of the old lady, she actually wants to clear up the relationship. This Zhang Xiaoxiao is really shameless. Although the old lady always said that her property was left to Song Moding. But this is not a matter of property, but of reputation and status. Can private hospitals be treated like property? This kind of gain in fame and fortune cannot be just for Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao. They are also from the Song family. It makes sense to argue. Otherwise Mother Song would not have dared to be so bold. The newspaper uploaded it in an uproar, how could they not know about it? You can tell at a glance that this is a resource of the Song family. It's nothing if Father Song wants to borrow it, let alone taking advantage. This is the property of the Song family. They can do it if they don't want it, but they can't even use it. It doesn't make sense. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't even look at Song's mother. This nominal mother-in-law had nothing to do with him, so it would be wrong for him to show off her mother-in-law's record. Dad, the hospital does have hospital rules. You are the vice president in the hospital, and you should know this very well. Don't embarrass me. If we are serious, it is not a big deal to jump into a team to help arrange a patient, but Song's father's attitude and Song's mother's attitude are indeed worthy of scrutiny. Especially what Mother Song said, it seems that this hospital is the Song family's hospital. Treat the hospital as your own private property, do whatever you want, and use it to gain favors and gain connections. The original intention of opening his own hospital was not for them to gain fame and fortune, and this is not the purpose of his own hospital. Zhang Xiaoxiao will never allow anyone to use his hospital to do something disgraceful. Song's father was very angry. Even my daughter-in-law is unwilling to help with such a small matter. This Zhang Xiaoxiao is exactly the same as Song Moding. He really doesn't belong to the same family. The tempers of the two people are exactly the same, smelly and hard. Song's father blew his beard and stared. The hospital has hospital regulations, but it's such a small thing. If you can't do it, then I'll talk to your grandma. After all, this hospital is also invested by your grandma. Don't think I don't know. In the beginning, your grandma he is the director of the hospital. Later it was replaced by the old lady from the Wu family. Only people like you can give our Song family's hospital to the Wu family. No matter what, this is the Song family's investment in the Song family's industry. Grandma invested, but that doesn't mean it belongs to you, it belongs to the entire Song family. Is there any reason why I didn't say it? Father Song was very angry. What's the matter? What's the matter? Why are you blowing your beard and staring at Xiao Xiao just after I came in? Why are you staring at Xiao Xiao? What is the Song family's whole family? The old lady came back with the child in her arms and heard the last sentence. She didn't hear the previous ones, so she put the child into Mother Song's arms. Mom, you're not talking about Xiao Xiao. The daughter of King He's old superior is going to have a baby and wants to go to Ren'ai hospital for a prenatal checkup. This is not to ask Xiao Xiao to help arrange it, but it's good for Xiao Xiao. It's obviously a hospital invested by Mom. But she had the final say alone and pushed his father back with just one opening of her mouth. Mom, you love Xiao Xiao and Mo Ting, which we didn't say, but this hospital is not for Xiao Xiao alone. It's just a favor for his father, it's not a big deal. If we don't even help with such things, are we still a family? No matter what, this hospital is invested by my mother, so Xiao Xiao cannot have the final say. Mom, this is everyone's property, and everyone in the Song family has a say. Song's mother has long disliked it, but she has already inquired about Ren'ai Hospital's reputation. Even though it has only been open for half a year, it is said that the hospital has received all the famous people in the past 6 months, and ordinary people cannot afford to go here. Giving a baby is at least 3 times more expensive than in public hospitals. Of course the services here and the ward equipment here are also first-rate. Many people are talking about Ren'ai Hospital now. Although it is a very expensive private hospital, most people are willing to give birth here and it has a very good reputation. It is said that anyone who has given birth here knows that Ren'ai Hospital is famous in the industry. Of course Mother Song is jealous, and of course she knows that Ren'ai Hospital now has its own resources. Those who come to see a doctor are either people or wealthy people behind them. When there is one, there are two. With frequent contacts, you will naturally become a network of the hospital. This kind of connections are usually rare. If this hospital were in the hands of his son, would his son be able to do the same thing now? However, the old lady was partial to Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao, so she gave the hospital to Zhang Xiaoxiao from the beginning. Just be eccentric. But you can't deny every advantage to other children. This is not a matter of money, it is a matter of connections. Mother of Song felt that she was quite reasonable. Even if she said this out loud, I'm afraid her uncle and uncle's family would think the same way. She didn't believe that they weren't jealous, and they didn't think the old lady was partial. Mrs. Song was very happy. At this time, the old man and the boss and the third family also walked in together. In-laws, hurry up and sit in the living room for a while. I have asked them to order a banquet and it will be delivered shortly. Song Kingyun and Song Kinghao accompanied Fan Jiuying and Zhang walked in honestly. Song Kingyun was grateful to the couple from the bottom of his heart. After all, Zhang Xiaoxiao was also his savior. Without this Zhang family's secret recipe passed down from his ancestors, he, a vegetative state, would have to lie in bed for the rest of his life. Who knows when I will wake up? From the moment Song Kingyun woke up, the people in the Song family's eldest room were all close to the Zhang family and were grateful to them. So this time, I saw Fan Jiuying and teacher Zhang. Song Kingyun and his daughter-in-law Xiao Hui went up to entertain him warmly. In any case, the two families were both relatives and their saviors. Mr. Song saw that the atmosphere in the living room was not right. Look at the second son and his wife. It must be these two troublemakers again. There will be no end if they don't find something to do every day. How old are the second eldest children? They are already grandfathers, and they still don't have a clear mind at this moment. I don't know what the second child thinks. But this is what my son can do. Even if he sees a bad atmosphere in the living room, he can't expose it face to face and ask questions. After all, there are two in-laws of the Zhang family here. No matter what the matter is, if it is broken down here, I am afraid it is their family that will be embarrassed. The second brother and your wife will go and take a look. The food you ordered should be arriving soon, and it will be set up in the restaurant to eat. You two should also go and say hello. This is to send the two people away and let the matter be settled. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 686. Chapter 686. I am a good brother. Fang Ziyi silently took over her daughter, thinking that her mother-in-law always died before leaving the army. When he failed to win against Shang Zhang Xiaoxiao. The problem is that this mother-in-law has never been smart. Didn't you think that this was said by a daughter-in-law like you? Even if the old lady is partial to Zhang Xiaoxiao. Then what can you do? The old lady has been partial to Song Moding for so many years. Who in the family can resist? My mother-in-law has been resisting for so many years without any good results, but she is still thinking about it now. She doesn't see herself and never confronts Zhang Xiaoxiao. What good results can come from fighting against it? It can only make the old lady and old man unhappy. When the old man spoke, Father Song and Mother Song were helpless and had no choice but to go out to do things. Song's mother walked out of the gate. It's okay for your parents to be partial for the rest of their lives, but how big an industry is this hospital? Is this a little bit of property? This is not only an industry, but also a reputation and status. Your parents just gave it to Zhang Xiao without saying a word. Xiao and Song Moding. Have you seen that even if you want to use it, your daughter-in-law refuses to agree? What status do you have as a father-in-law? Song's father was angry. Zhang Xiaoxiao rejected him, and he was also furious. He couldn't help but just made such a small request. He originally thought it would be a big deal. It was just a matter of one sentence. He promised his old superior at that time, because he thought that the old superior could help him with a word, which would make it much easier for him to be promoted. Besides, it's just a matter of giving birth to a child, it's not a big deal. The result was good. His daughter-in-law didn't give him any face at all, and she refuted him in front of his wife, which made him feel uncomfortable. Stop talking, I'll talk to Dad privately after dinner later. It's not a big deal, Dad won't be so unreasonable. Song's mother was furious. Now I wonder if you are Song Moding's biological father? Could it be that Song Moding is the old man's son? Look at this family, how can we talk to each other in the future? Father Song's face was straight. Don't talk nonsense there. This is what people say. Song's mother was angry. You are so capable of getting angry at me, but why don't you go back and get angry at your parents? It's not me who doesn't give you face. You think I'm the only one who has this idea? You don't believe it, you go ask your elder brother or your younger brother. Are they also suspicious? Are you your father's biological son? How can a father treat his own son like this? You have not committed any heinous crime. Just marry me. Even if there is great unhappiness, so many years should pass. Mo Huan's child has already been born. Is it interesting that he still has to worry about it like this? That Song Moding, didn't you also suspect that Song Moding was not your son? You're talking nonsense. I'm going to tell my great-grandfather that you said my father is not my grandfather's biological son. A voice interrupted. Tang Yuan stared with round eyes and an angry look on his face. Mother Song was also embarrassed when she saw Tang Yuan. She never imagined that this child would actually appear here and hear the two of them talking. This can only be said by the two of them in private. If it were really said in front of the old man and the old lady would be really angry. At that time, there will be nothing good for the two of them. I'm afraid that as long as Tang Yuan goes in and tells the old man will immediately turn against him and drive them out. This is just a joke. Having no choice but to force out a smile. Tang Yuan, Grandma didn't mean that Grandma and Grandpa were joking. You can't talk nonsense if you tell Grandpa, won't it make Grandpa angry? Tang Yuan didn't believe it. You are not my grandma. One sentence instantly ignited Song's father's anger. What did you say? This is your elder. You actually said that this is not your grandma. Who taught you? I didn't teach your father well. Now that you are here, is it possible that you can be like your father? Lawless, no human ethics? I tell you, you call me grandma. A big hand twisted Tang Yuan's neck, forcing Tang Yuan to call Mrs. Song grandma. Tang Yuan's neck hurt, but Mrs. Song stared at Mother Song without saying a word. Song's father said angrily, what an unfilial thing. Slap him in the face. If this slap really hits Tang Yuan's face, Tang Yuan will probably be slapped away. Father Song is now furious, his eyes covered with anger, and he can't care about anything at all now. I never thought about how big a child Tang Yuan is. Baizai went to the toilet just now. When he came back from the toilet, he saw Father Song slapped him. Baizai got anxious and bumped into him. Hit Father Song's stomach all at once. Father Song's slap was empty and he fell to the ground. When Song's mother saw that her husband was actually beaten by a little kid, it was not bad. She had long been disgusted with this bun. She picked up the wild child from nowhere and raised it as a child of their Song family. Zhang Xiaoxiao did it on purpose. Everything fragrant and smelly was brought to their Song family, and Bai Yi was the one who picked it up. They stopped talking, and now there is another bun. Thought the Song family was doing something, it was a welfare home. A wild boy dared to hit an elder of the Song family. She kicked him over with one kick. Right? Is a kick? Stop. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao saw a jaw-dropping scene at the door when they came out to look for the two children. A person as old as Mrs. Song was kicking such a small child. With this kick, will this child be okay? It's a pity that it's still too late. The bun was kicked and flew out. A van drove up at the gate, coming from a restaurant delivering food. I never expected that a child would burst out of the door. Although the driver applied the brakes suddenly, the child still hit the car hard. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding rushed out. Mother Song was also dumbfounded. Baizai leaned in Zhang Xiaoxiao's arms with blood all over his face. Mom, I have protected Tang Yuan well, I am a good brother. After speaking, he tilted his head and fainted. Zhang Xiaoxiao pulled the small bag out of Baizai's neck. Each of them has one of these small bags, hanging around their necks to prevent them from losing them. The pills inside are life-saving pills. Songmoding held her hand tightly and shook his head. Hurry up and call. I will take the child to the hospital. The nearest hospital is ours. The driver of the car and the waiter who delivered the food all jumped out of the car and rushed to see how the child was doing. In any case, the child also crashed into their car. Zhang Xiaoxiao calmly stuffed the small bag back into Beizai's clothes. Songmoding had already picked up the child. Can the driver please take me to the hospital? Said to the driver delivering food. The driver didn't say anything and hurriedly let them get in the car. Zhang Xiaoxiao stood up and was about to take the glutinous rice back to make a phone call, but suddenly he felt a pain in his stomach. My heart trembled. It's definitely not about giving birth. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 687. Chapter 687 I didn't lie. Tang Yuan held her mother's hand and could clearly feel her mother's palms breaking out in cold sweat. His face changed with fear. Mom, what's wrong with you? Zhang Xiaoxiao tried to calm himself down. Go in quickly and call Grandma and Grandpa over. Mom is about to give birth. She didn't want to scare the child. Tang Yuaner was really scared this time. Fortunately, his father had a lot of training on weekdays. Faced with this scene, such a young child actually calmed down immediately. Mom, don't move here, I'll be back right away. After running through the door, Zhang Lishi, Fan Xiuying, the old man, and the old lady all came out. I heard that Zhang Xiaoxiao was going to give birth and it would be impossible for everyone to come out. Seeing the chaos at the door again, the old man and the old lady didn't care about anything else and quickly arranged for the driver to take Zhang Xiaoxiao to the hospital. Of course, Songmoding also went to the hospital in the car with the buns in his arms. The nearest hospital was Rena Hospital. They did not go anywhere else. The whole family rushed here. Zhang Xiaoxiao was in severe pain now. Was taken to the delivery room. Songmoding also carried Beizai and sent him to the emergency room. Thanks to the old lady for calling the hospital in advance. All doctors and nurses in the hospital are on standby. An hour later, Zhang Xiaoxiao gave birth to a pair of daughters by caesarean section. Luckily, Beizai was only slightly injured. Although his head was bruised and bloody, after 8 stitches were applied to the wound, he only suffered a slight concussion and his internal organs and bones were not injured. Has already gone to the ground. The old lady breathed a sigh of relief. It's God's blessing. I hope Beizai and Xiaoxiao are fine. Song's mother was worried that Tang Yuan would tell her what had just happened. It's true, Beizai, this child is so naughty, how can he run around? You see, he was hit by a car, and his mother was born prematurely. This is a rake. Songmoding is not here now, but is staying in the operating room. Mother Song felt that now that the matter was settled, even if it came out soon, they wouldn't be able to shake things up. Unexpectedly, the glutinous rice would not be dry. You're talking nonsense. It was obviously you who kicked my brother out, which caused Beizai to hit the car, his head was bleeding, and my mother was born prematurely. You are a bad woman, you are an old witch. Tang Yuan pointed at Mrs. Song and shouted. Mother Song looked embarrassed. She forgot that there was a glutinous rice dumpling as a witness. Mrs. Song looked embarrassed. What's going on at the second child's house? Why did you kick Beizai? If you kick such a young child, aren't you afraid of causing trouble? Even if the child does not hit the car, if you kick him like this, he will be easily injured if he hits a step or a tree. How old are you, yet you are arguing with a child? Old Mrs. Song thought that it was just ordinary children who were naughty, and Mother Song couldn't stand it, so she had to teach the child a lesson. Mom, this child is neither serious nor serious. It's not like you don't know that children of this age can't stop talking and can't control them. I'm not close to them on weekdays, but they can listen when I talk to them. It wasn't just a moment of anger. You don't know, that kid just knocked old Song to the ground. I was worried about old Song. He is old and has some osteoporosis. What if he falls and breaks a bone? That's not anger. It didn't stop immediately. When Mrs. Song heard this, she glanced at Father Song. Father Song had a fall just now. Apart from abrasions on his wrists and arms, there were no other problems. Baizai is too naughty, how can he bump into others casually? I will talk to him after he comes out later and teach him not to be so rude to adults. The old lady also felt that Song Moding didn't like to interact with his parents on weekdays, so the children were educated so that the children didn't have much respect for their father, otherwise such a young child would usually be very disrespectful to them. Respect, how could he dare to be so rude to Song's father? This is no joke. Song's mother said, "Mom, if you dare to bump into people at such a young age, you won't be able to hit them when you grow up." I was angry, but I did it for their own good. Mom, you really can't be too used to some things. Looking at Mo Ting and Xiao Xiao. If you educate your children in this way, when they grow up, they will teach two enemies. Old Mrs. Song looked at Mother Song and said nothing. Tang Yuan was anxious. It's not Baizai's fault that my grandma was at all. It was my grandpa who wanted to hit me, so Baizai was anxious. He wanted to protect me, so he knocked down his grandpa. Why did your grandfather hit you? Mrs. Song glanced at Father Song and asked about the glutinous rice balls. Song's mother became anxious when she saw it. If Tang Yuaner said what he and Song's father just said, I'm afraid the old man and the old lady would really get angry. How can you lie at such a young age? How could your grandpa hit you? It's too late to hurt you. It was obviously Baizai who was disobedient and bumped into your grandpa, knocking him down. In order to protect Baizai, you actually said tell this lie. Mom, this child really needs to be taught a good lesson. If he continues like this, he will be fine when he grows up. Tang Yuan was anxious. You're talking nonsense, you are a bad woman. It's obviously not like this, it's obviously Grandpa who wants to hit me. Baizai knocked Grandpa down to protect me. Mrs. Song also had a headache when she heard this. Tang Yuan had never regarded Mrs. Song as her grandmother. There is no way. There is absolutely no way Song Moding can tell his son to call Mother Song grandma, otherwise his own mother might be so angry that she would jump out of the coffin. Most of the time, children are educated subtly by adults, and it is easy for them to bring adults' feelings into their own. Just like Tang Yuaner, maybe in his heart, he has never regarded Mrs. Song as his grandmother, and he lacks due respect. Otherwise, he can't keep calling her an old witch and a bad woman here. Under such circumstances, Tang Yuan might actually lie in order to protect Baizai. Tang Yuan, you can't call me a bad woman or an old witch from now on, this is polite, you should call me grandma. The old lady didn't want Tang Yuaner to have a grudge against Song's mother and father like Song Moding, and have a knot in her heart all her life. Although Song's mother is indeed not his biological grandmother, even if she calls an outsider, she should still call her grandma. This is a matter of politeness, not emotion. Grandma, it's obvious that she is the one who lied, why do you still let me call her grandma? Grandma, do you also think that I am the one who lied? Tang Yuaner felt this was a kind of betrayal and distrust. It is obviously the so-called grandpa and grandma in front of me. They have done something wrong. Why is everyone siding with them? He suddenly missed his parents and brother Baizai. Tang Yuan, you have to be obedient, be reasonable, and be polite for a well-behaved child like Tang Yuan. I believe that you didn't lie on purpose. I didn't lie. Tang Yuan stubbornly scratched his neck and yelled. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 688. Chapter 688 missing. Forget it. With such a small child, we as adults can't argue with him. If he said he didn't lie, then he didn't lie. Let's take a look at the little ones in the ward first. Song Mu said generously. Old MRS Song looked at the glutinous rice with some disappointment. You should reflect here carefully, see what you have done wrong. Mother Song helped the trembling old MRS Song to the ward. Zhang Xiao Xiao has just been launched. The anesthetic has not worn off yet. People are still asleep. Tang Yuan stood there alone, no one paid attention to him. He had tears in his eyes. It was obviously that bad woman who had done everything wrong, but no one believed her. Her parents were not around, nor were brother Baizai and Aunt Yi. He suddenly felt sad. Tang Yuan walked to the hospital gate with his head lowered and sat there motionless. Suddenly someone touched his head. As soon as Tang Yuan raised his head, he suddenly felt dizzy. Tang Yuan, Aunt will take you to a good place, don't be sad, Aunt will take you to eat delicious food. Fang Ziyi touched his head gently. Tang Yuan wanted to refuse, but his mother told him that this woman was not a good person. Mom said that when you see this woman, you must stay away from her. But something suddenly appeared in my mind. Good. Tang Yuan nodded obediently. Fang Ziyi pursed her lips and smiled. Isn't Zhang Xiao Xiao a proud man of heaven? Rather than having luck that is different from her own, let's see if she has the ability to save her son. Fang Ziyi didn't notice Baizai chasing after her from a distance. Half an hour later, Fang Ziyi reappeared in Zhang Xiaoxiu's ward. No one noticed that Fang Ziyi had been missing for half an hour just now. Two almost identical babies made everyone in the ward very curious. One was in the arms of MRS Song, and the other was in Fan Jiuying's arms. The adults stared at the two children and praised them. These two children look really good, take a look at them, they look like Xiao Xiao, they have white skin and big eyes, it's really rare for twins to grow so fat, no wonder Xiao Xiao had a cesarean section. You see, these two look almost identical. Old MRS Song shows off her child in her arms. Fan Jiuying also smiled and said, yes, these two children look exactly the same, and they are almost exactly the same as Tang Yuan when she was a child. Hey, where is Tang Yuan? Why didn't Tang Yuan come in? You don't come in to see your sister either. She is always shouting on weekdays. I want my sister, I want my sister, now my sister is out, why don't you come in and take a look? Looking for glutinous rice everywhere. Song Moding took a look and didn't see his son. MRS Song sighed, I just said something to this kid. He was probably angry with me, so he didn't enter the ward. Mo Ting, go ahead and call your son in. This little guy is too stubborn. The old lady just wanted to cool off the dumplings. Although she doted on this child very much, she also knew that the child's personality could not be spoiled like this all the time. She would let him spoil him in everything. That is not good for the children. Song Moding looked at Zhang Xiaoxiu's sleeping eyebrows and went out to find glutinous rice balls. Song Moding saw the empty corridor. Frown. Looking back at the ward, there really were no glutinous rice or steamed buns. My heart trembled. It is difficult not to be vigilant when dangerous things happen several times. Which of you has seen glutinous rice and steamed buns? Song Moding asked loudly. MRS Song was startled, not outside. Impossible, she was still there just now. Tang Yuan doesn't run around. This child is very obedient. Others looked at each other, and Song Moding's heart sank. It's not right. The glutinous rice and buns are all gone. Everyone was shocked. Song Moding went to find the doctor and nurse. The nurses at the nursing station shook their heads. They didn't notice the child. There were 3 mothers giving birth today, one of whom suffered from severe bleeding and was in danger of life. They were so busy just now that they didn't even notice that the baby was not a baby. Everyone is anxious now. MRS Song stomped her feet and beat her chest guiltily, It's all my fault. I shouldn't have said that to the child just now, and I shouldn't have left him alone there. Why was I so, hey? What should I do? The old lady felt that it was her fault and took all the responsibilities on herself. Songmoding patted his grandma on the shoulder and said, "Grandma, don't say that. The child is still young, so you must teach him slowly. He is not sensible yet, so he might run out to play with Bayazai. Let's go and find out. Maybe I'll get it back soon, don't be too anxious." Songmoding felt something was wrong, but he didn't know what was wrong. But the old lady can't be anxious. Zhang Xiaoxiao hasn't woken up yet. Zhang Lishi went back to find someone. Now everyone must work together to find the child first. If Zhang Xiaoxiao wakes up and knows that the child is missing, he will probably be able to push him over immediately. Fan Jiuying and Mrs. Song were left to take care of Zhang Xiaoxiao and their two children. Everyone else went out to look for the two children. People are divided into 3 waves. One wave of searches was in the hospital and its surroundings, another wave was at the old man's house, and the children might have gone home, and another wave was at Jiang's house. Zhang Lishi went back to Jiang's house to look for him. Mr. Song and Song Qingyun went back to the Song family to look for them. Song Moding and Song Qinghe were looking for them in the hospital. Zhang Xiaoxiao woke up. Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that nothing would happen to her because she was strong. After all, before entering the delivery room for cesarean section, she secretly drank peach juice for herself before entering. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Fan Jiuying's red eyes. "Mom, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Xiaoxiao instinctively felt something was wrong. Fan Jiuying wiped her eyes and said, "Just wake up. Mom is worried to death. You fell asleep for several hours. Mom is really worried that you won't be able to wake up. The child is still so young." Fan Jiuying made an excuse in panic. Fortunately, Zhang Xiaoxiao had just woken up and the anesthetic had not completely worn off. I didn't find that Fan Jiuying's words were unreasonable, and she was not the first child. Fan Jiuying should know that after all, his elder brother had a surgery, and the hemp medicine was retired for several hours. How could you be worried about this? Old Mrs. Song heard that Zhang Xiaoxiao had woken up, her eyes were also red. Looking at Zhang Xiaoxiao guiltily, but unable to say anything. This child has just woken up. He must not tell Zhang Xiaoxiao about the disappearance of the two children. If he tells Zhang Xiaoxiao, who knows what will happen? This is the result of everyone's discussion. Songmoding and his 3 people came back just now. The news we received was that the two children had not been found. The two children have neither returned to the Song family nor the Zhang family. Now the area around the hospital has been searched, and there is no sign of anyone at all. Songmoding's heart has sunk, and he has made the worst plan based on the current situation. It is very likely that something will happen to the two children. Mr. Song has already called. Public security comrades have begun to send people to search. Because this involves the grandson of the Song family, this is different. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 689. Chapter 689 Delivery. The glutinous rice and steamed buns were leaning on the seats in a daze. Brother Yang is sitting on the side. A middle-aged woman said with some distress as she saw her two children too sleepy to keep their eyes open. You are a grown man taking two children on the road, but it is so hard. Why didn't your lover accompany you? What if you accidentally lost the child along the way? Look at how trapped this child is. Sample. Brother Yang smiled and said, Comrade, there is nothing we can do. The child's mother is sick and she is in the hospital. Her grandmother is still taking care of her. I really have no choice. I have to go to work and take care of my mother. If you can't take care of them, why don't you send them back to your hometown and let your grandparents watch them for a while? Otherwise, this family won't be able to move around. He looked honest and honest. He took off his sunglasses and covered them with an eye patch. It doesn't look vicious. Several adults around him also sighed. Every family has its own sutras that are difficult to recite. If there is a patient or such a small child in the family, a grown man will not be able to take care of it. Oh, it's really difficult. Brother Yang took one look and arrived at the station immediately. Fang Xiaowai, a stinky woman, actually forced these two hot potatoes to come to her. He had never expected that Fang Xiaowai would come to his door, considering what happened last time. He was also worried that Fang Xiaowai would hate him because of this in the future, and would really go all out and report him. While he was on tenterhooks, he didn't expect that this woman actually wanted to cooperate with him. When he sent this child over, he was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect that a fat and white child would be sent to him. And she didn't know whether the child was mentally ill or a fool. In front of the child, Fang Xiaowai told herself that it would be better to sell the child to the countryside. It would be better to live in a poor mountain valley where he would never be able to escape. The kind that comes. Of course it is best to find a family with poor conditions and whose parents are not good people to sell to them. This is obviously a scam. He also said that it didn't matter how much money he paid, as long as he sent the person far away. Me and outsiders would feel that this woman is too cruel after hearing this, but this child is still silly and happy after hearing this. I don't know if I didn't understand it or if I was just a fool. There was no way. Now Fang Xiaowai was in control of herself. Fang Xiaowai told him to sell the child and come back. Not only did Fang Xiaowai not take any of the money from selling the child, she also gave him the remaining money. He thought it right, this child is worth at least several thousand yuan. If Fang Xiaowai doesn't want it, then it will be a waste of money for herself. Brother Yang is naturally happy. Just when Brother Yang was about to take the child away, another child appeared, crying and making trouble to attract people. He was knocked unconscious by a slap from Brother Yang and had to be taken away together. Fang Xiaowai said that the two children are at his disposal, but they can only be sold as far away as possible according to her requirements. Yang Ji immediately took the two children onto the train. Before boarding the train, he gave the two children medicine. He is also afraid that if the child makes a fuss on the road, his secret will be revealed. He naturally has a way to do this, but this is his first time delivering goods to his door. The train arrived at the station and he could only pick up the two children. Having gone through a lot of hard work to knock on Ma Lao-san's door. Who? I'm the delivery person. What are you delivering? It's a late night delivery. The man inside was very cautious and peeked through the crack in the door. When he saw Brother Yang and the child in his arms, he immediately opened the door with understanding. It's Brother Yang, what brings you here? I haven't seen you for several years. Ma Lao-san winked at his mother-in-law who was in the room, and she opened the door. When I saw those two fat and fair boys, my heart moved. It seems that this is a delivery service. These two children are raised so well, especially the boy, who is still young, about 2 or 3 years old. Generally, families who want children are rushing to get them. This is a hot commodity. Half an hour later, Brother Yang came out of the house with 6,000 yuan in his pocket, returned to the train station, bought a train ticket, and got on the train directly. When Tang Yuan woke up, he found that he was a little groggy. Opening his eyes, the dim light made him feel nauseous and his eyes felt dizzy. I heard a voice scolding. You are a chicken that can't lay eggs. Do you see that just because you can't give birth to a son? Now I have tried so hard to get a son. Do you know how much it cost? It cost $10,000. You should keep an eye on me. If this child is lost, you won't be able to survive. The cursing voice faded away. Tang Yuan closed his eyes and opened them, but his head still hurt badly. Then he saw a dark, thin woman wearing tattered and patched clothes staring at him next to him. There is desire and disgust in the eyes, hatred and love. Tang Yuan shook his head. No, his eyes were shaking so much that he could only close his eyes and fall asleep. Wait until he wakes up again. There is no one around anymore. Tang Yuan sat up and felt nauseous in his chest, and he was so hungry that his heart pressed against his back. He remembered that his mother had told him to take a small pill in his bag if he felt something was wrong. He touched his breast pocket, and then realized that the clothes he was wearing were no longer his original clothes. The small pocket that his mother had hung on his chest was long gone. He was now wearing tatters, one full of patches. Old clothes. Tang Yuan looked at the house in astonishment. The house was low and low. But the house is very big. In addition to the bed he is staying in now, there are 2 large beds over there. There are some tattered bedding piled on the bed, but it can be seen that the environment at home is very poor and the light is dark. Tang Yuan doesn't know where he is. He had what his parents said in his mind, but he just couldn't remember what his parents looked like. Tang Yuan was about to go to the ground when he realized that there was an iron chain tied to his leg, and the other end of the iron chain was buried in the adobe wall. The iron chain jingled whenever he moved it. Tang Yuan looked at the iron chain strangely. Why was he tied up? Someone came in. A dark and skinny little girl came in, holding a broken bowl in her hand, and walked up to him. Gaodan, you're awake. If you're awake, eat something. Putting the broken bowl into Tang Yuan's hand, Tang Yuan blinked. Gaodan. So your name is Gaodan. Why did he remember that it was glutinous rice balls? Did he remember it wrong? There was something dark in the bowl, and he couldn't tell what it was. But he was very hungry, so he could only pick up the bowl and drink in a big gulp, and then spit it out directly. It tasted too bad. There should be some vegetable leaves in it, but he didn't know what they were. I don't know what the dark stuff is, but it's astringent, bitter, and a bit throaty in my mouth, and it exudes a sour and stinky taste. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 690. Chapter 690 Gaodanzu. 10 days later, glutinous rice balls. Yes, his name is Gaodan now, and Gaodaner has become accustomed to life here. It doesn't matter if he's not used to it. He has iron chains tied to his feet and can only move within the scope of the iron chains. There are a father, a mother, and 5 sisters in this family. Gaodan knows that his father is very powerful and can beat people. It hurts to hit someone. Since the first time he vomited half a bowl of sorghum, rice, and wild vegetable porridge, he was severely beaten by his father with a bamboo stick. He lay in bed for 3 days before he recovered. From then on, he knew that it was his father who had the final say in this family. My mother and 5 sisters are all afraid of my father. Gaodan already knew that after being beaten 3 times, he knew that he was the least free one in this family. Because he was too naughty, his father tied him up at home with this iron chain. The furthest distance he goes is sitting on a small bench in the yard, cutting pig food there. Yes, he has learned how to cut pig food. Dad said that farm children should learn these things. When they get older, they will go to the fields to work with their father. Because he is the man in the family, and as a man he must be the pillar of support. 5 sisters, 3 of them work in the fields with their parents, and 2 of them have to do all the housework at home. There is a pig and 3 chickens at home. The sisters also have to go up the mountain to chop firewood, collect pig grass, light fires, cook, wash clothes, tidy up the house, and fetch water. Gaodan always felt that he was out of tune with this family. He didn't know why, and why there were always some special things popping up in his memory. Although he knew that in his heart he understood that this was his home, his parents. But for some reason, he always felt that there was a gentle voice of his parents in his mind talking to him and telling him many things. But he felt very confused. He knew these were his parents. I don't know why, but as soon as he opened his eyes and his parents told him that they were his parents, he decided that they were his parents. Now there are always some inexplicable things popping up. Gowden is very sad. Gowdana, it's time to eat. The fifth sister asked her brother to bring him a bowl. The fifth sister was the sister who served him the dark bowl of sorghum and wild vegetable porridge in the first place. The sisters don't seem to talk much, and they rarely talk and play with him on weekdays. Mother rarely gets close to him. Except for my father, every time he comes back, he will come over to take a look at him and say a few words to him. It seems that everyone in this family is like this. Gowden looked at the dwindling sorghum porridge in his bowl. He knew that his family could only eat 2 meals a day, but he could only eat one. Because my father said that he grew too fat because he made the family poor. At first he was too hungry to sleep, but now he felt very full after eating the sorghum porridge. Of course, if there is a mirror in the house for him to look at, he will find that he has changed from the white and fat little boy into a thin and black child. This little boy has lost a whole circle. Probably the time is still very short. Although he is also dark, compared with several sisters, he is still very white now. Gowden thinks that he will probably live like this all his life. He hopes that one day he won't be naughty and his parents won't need to chain him up. Bayazai poured a basin of foot washing water from outside and carefully brought it into the house. Dad, let me wash your feet. The man sitting on the edge of the Kong knocked the pipe with satisfaction. Zuzu, remember, you have to be obedient. You are my son, and this family will be left to you from now on. If you don't obey, you know how you caught the kid next door when he ran away. His legs are broken, and Dad doesn't want to break your legs and make you a cripple, which will make it difficult for you to get a wife in the future. The 60-year-old man had wrinkles all over his face, and there was an eerie chill when he said this. Bayazai smiled and said, Dad, don't worry. My stepmother used to be bad to me. My father didn't like me even more. He beat me every day. Don't look at me. I'm fat. It was because I stole pig food. Eat like that. It is a blessing for me to be here with you. You treat me like your own son, and I treat you like my own father. I will definitely support you until your retirement in the future. I'm not running. What's the point of running out? What can a child like me do when I go out? Then you have to starve to death. Bayazai's words made the man even more satisfied with the son he bought back for 10,000 yuan, but this son is really well behaved and obedient. Although he asked his old wife and his 2 daughters to look closely at this boy. But it can be seen that this kid is quite honest. He does all kinds of work at home and outside the house, and he has a good eye. He never runs out of the village, and he doesn't even ask about it. At first glance, this kid really wants to stay. But we still have to take a look, who knows? It takes only 3 to 5 years to raise such a child. Song Moding and the others have searched all over Beijing, but no one has found any trace of the 2 children. The 2 children seem to disappear without a trace. More than a month later, Zhang Xiaoxiao already knew that the child was lost. She was discharged from the hospital after a week, and it was still okay without seeing the child. After all, she couldn't always take her children to the hospital, but when she returned home for confinement, she still didn't see her 2 children, which was wrong. Especially the atmosphere at home is not right now. The old man and the old lady often said something in the living room, but when Zhang Xiaoxiao appeared, the old lady and the old man immediately said nothing, obviously behind her back. The old lady's red eyes never went away. Zhang Xiaoxiao called Song Moding over and asked. After finally asking about the matter, Song Moding also knew that he couldn't keep it a secret, and he couldn't keep the two children hidden from anyone under any excuse. Zhang Xiaoxiao almost fainted when he heard the news that the two children were missing. Song Moding supported his wife and said, "Don't worry, we are looking for you." These words are really just words of comfort. It has been more than a month and they don't even have a clue. Song Moding has contacted Jin Dachuan and told all his former friends, but there is still no news. Because this clue is too difficult to find. When they left the hospital, no one paid any attention to the two children. Someone once reported that two children were seen on the train during that time period, but there was no definite information about this at all, and the train stopped at too many stations. It would take time to find them one by one. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at his twin daughters lying on the small bed. The two children, Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan, are 1 month old and look more and more like Tang Yuan when they were young, but the dumplings are gone now. Although she didn't want to cry, her tears couldn't stop falling. Things have reached a stalemate, with various rumors, suspicions, and assumptions arising. It was not a kidnapping, no ransom was demanded, and the two children just disappeared. However, they finally began to hear some news about a one-eyed man who was said to be riding a train with two children, who looked very similar to their glutinous rice dumplings. However, every time they tried to find him, they always came up empty-handed. That person is confusing and difficult to find. End of this chapter.